The sky above Elisara was a deep shade of violet, always glowing as if a storm had just passed. Jake lay on his back, staring up at the strange colors, feeling pain in his leg and confusion in his mind. He was a soldier trained to fight and survive, but nothing had prepared him for this place. His ship had crashed after being hit by debris in orbit. One moment, he was piloting through the stars, and the next, he was tumbling through the atmosphere, bracing for impact. The ground was soft, covered with blue grass. Jake slowly sat up and checked his equipment. His helmet was cracked, but he was breathing fine. A communicator on his suit only made static noises. He tried to stand, but his leg hurt badly. Jake looked around and saw only strange, tall trees and gentle hills. The air was warm and everything smelled fresh, like rain and flowers. He tried to walk, but after a few steps, he fell again. That was when he heard voices, soft and musical, coming closer. Jake tensed, remembering his training. He gripped his sidearm, though he hoped not to use it. 3 figures came over the hill. They looked almost human, but not quite. Their skin was smooth and shined, and the light one was pale blue, another pale purple, and the third was almost silver. Their hair was long and braided, and their eyes were large and bright. They wore flowing clothes and moved gracefully. They stopped when they saw Jake and spoke quickly in their own language. Jake raised his hands, showing he meant no harm. One of them, the blue-skinned girl, stepped forward. She spoke, her words strange, but her tone was gentle. Jake pointed to his leg and tried to smile. The girl watched him closely, then knelt beside him and examined the injury. Her touch was careful. She called to her friends, who came to help. They did not seem scared of him. Instead, they were curious. The silver-skinned girl touched his helmet, studying the cracked glass. The purple one poked at his armored vest and giggled softly, then said something that made the others laugh. Jake felt embarrassed but tried to laugh too. They helped him to his feet and supported him as they walked. It was not far to their village. As they came closer, Jake saw that the buildings were made of smooth white stone and blue crystal. The paths wound around gardens and small streams. Other people came out to watch as the girls brought Jake in. Everyone here seemed to be female. He saw no men at all. The girls took Jake to a round house with an open roof. Inside there were soft seats and tables covered with fruit and bread. They sat him down and began to treat his wound. The blue-skinned girl cleaned his leg and wrapped it in a cool, smooth cloth. She smiled at him and pointed to herself. "Lyra," she said. Then she pointed to the purple girl. "Mia." The silver one waved and said, "Harper." Jake introduced himself, speaking slowly. "Jake, my name is Jake." They repeated his name, trying to say it right, and smiled when he nodded. As Lyra worked, the others asked questions. They spoke softly, using gestures and simple words. They wanted to know where Jake came from, what had happened, and why he was alone. Jake tried to explain, using his hands and drawing in the dirt. He pointed to the sky, made a shape for his ship, then showed it falling and breaking. The girls watched with wide eyes, whispering to each other. After a while, the room filled with more girls. They brought food and drink, offering Jake pieces of fruit and a cup of sweet water. Jake thanked them, trying to be polite. He was hungry and tired, but also nervous. Everyone was staring at him, talking about him, and he felt like a stranger. In a dream, one older woman came forward. She was taller than the others and wore a cloak of green leaves. She studied Jake with sharp eyes, then spoke to Lyra. Lyra translated as best she could. "She is Eldra. She is our leader. She wants to know if you are dangerous." Jake shook his head. "No, I'm not dangerous," he said, putting his hand on his heart. The leader looked at him for a long time, then nodded. The mood in the room changed. The girls relaxed, and some even reached out to touch Jake's arms and hair. He laughed, surprised by their interest. They seemed to find him fascinating, not frightening. The day passed quickly. Jake rested while the girls watched over him. He listened to their songs and stories, not understanding most of the words, but enjoying the sound of their voices. Lyra stayed close, asking more questions. She wanted to know about Earth, about humans, and especially about men. She explained that on Elisara, men were rare and gentle, never soldiers or leaders. Jake found this strange, but he tried to answer her questions honestly. As evening came, the sky turned from violet to gold. The village grew quiet. Lyra and her friends brought Jake to a small house with a bed of soft leaves. He thanked them and lay down exhausted. Before leaving, Lyra touched his hand and smiled. "You are safe here, Jake," she said. Jake closed his eyes, listening to the strange sounds of the alien night. He missed home, but he was grateful to be alive. He wondered what tomorrow would bring, and what other surprises this new world had in store. He dreamed of blue grass, bright eyes, and a world where everything was different. But for now, he was not afraid. He had found kindness in a place where he least expected it, and he hoped it would be enough to help him find his way. Jake woke up to the sound of gentle singing outside his small house. The soft morning light shone through the window, painting the walls with a pale blue color. He sat up and stretched, feeling better than he did the night before. His legs still hurt, but the pain was not as strong. The bandage was cool and smooth. Jake remembered Lyra's gentle hands and smiled. He got up and walked slowly outside. The village was busy. Women and girls moved about, carrying baskets, tending to gardens, and talking with each other. Some waved when they saw Jake, while others stared, curious and shy. He noticed again that there were no men anywhere. Every face was female, young and old, and every voice was soft and clear. Lyra came running down the path. She smiled when she saw Jake. "You walk good now," she said in her careful English. Jake laughed and nodded. "Better, thanks to you." Lyra took his hand and led him to a bench near a fountain. The water sparkled in the morning light, and flowers grew all around. Lyra sat next to Jake, and soon Mia and Harper joined them. The girls began to ask Jake more questions. They wanted to know about his home, his family, and what life was like on Earth. Jake told them simple stories. He talked about green forest, snow, and rain. He explained how men and women on Earth worked together, how everyone could choose what to become. Lyra listened closely. She had never heard stories like these. Mia leaned forward, her bright eyes wide. "Are all men strong like you?" she asked. Jake shook his head. "No, not all men are soldiers. Some are teachers, doctors, or artists." Harper looked confused. "But you fight? You save people?" Jake nodded. "I fight to protect others." "That is my job," the girls whispered to each other. On Elisara, men were gentle, never fighters. It was hard for them to imagine a man as a hero. Jake tried to learn about Elisara too. He asked why there were no men in the village. Lyra explained that most men lived in quiet places, far from the busy towns. They cared for gardens or raised children and rarely traveled. The women led the villages, made rules, and took care of trade and safety. Jake thought this was strange, but he did not say so. He wanted to understand their world. Later that morning, Lyra took Jake to the center of the village. A large circle was marked on the ground with blue stones. Villagers gathered around, watching with excitement. Lyra explained that there would be games today, and everyone could join. The games were gentle, with races, singing, and puzzle contests. Jake was surprised. He expected sports, but the games were more like art and music. The girls encouraged Jake to join a song circle. At first he felt shy. He did not know the words, but Mia taught him a simple song, and soon Jake was singing along. The villagers clapped and laughed. For the first time, Jake felt welcome. He was a stranger, but now he was part of the fun. During the games, Harper brought Jake some food. The bread was soft and the fruit was sweet. Jake ate with the girls, telling more stories about Earth. He showed them how to play rock, paper, scissors. And soon a small crowd was laughing and playing with him. Even the older women watched, smiling at Jake's kindness. As the sun rose higher, the games ended. Lyra and her friends took Jake to a shaded garden. They sat in a circle and talked quietly. Lyra wanted to know about fighting and bravery. "Why? Do you fight?" she asked. Jake thought for a moment. "Sometimes you must fight to protect your friends or family. I do not like war, but I do not want anyone to be hurt." The girls listened closely. Mia touched his arm. You are brave, Jake. The afternoon passed peacefully. Jake helped the girls gather fruit and water from the stream. He learned new words in their language, and they learned more English from him. The village felt less strange now, and Jake was happy to help. As evening came, the villagers prepared for a feast. Long tables were set with food and flowers. Everyone wore bright clothes, and the air was full of music and laughter. Jake was given a new shirt made from soft, light cloth. It was blue like the sky at dusk. Lyra smiled and said, "You look good, Jake." At the feast, the villagers danced in circles, holding hands and singing. Jake watched, smiling. Lyra came to him and held out her hand. "Dance?" she asked. Jake hesitated but then took her hand. Together they joined the circle, moving slowly at first, then faster as the music grew. Jake laughed, feeling light and free. After the dance, Jake sat with Lyra, Mia, and Harper. They watched the stars appear in the sky. Lyra pointed up. "You come from there?" Jake nodded. "Yes, from far away." Lyra squeezed his hand. "Now you are here, with us." Jake felt warm inside. He was far from home, but he was not alone. The girls grew quiet. Harper spoke softly. "You are different from us." "But we like you, Jake." Mia nodded. "You are strong, but you are also kind." Jake smiled. "You have helped me too." I glad I met you." As the night grew dark, the girls walked Jake back to his house. Lyra stayed a little longer, talking softly. She asked him about fear and if he missed his family. Jake was honest. "I am afraid sometimes. I miss home. But I feel safe with you." Lyra smiled. "We will protect you, Jake. You are our friend." Jake fell asleep that night feeling at peace. The stars outside his window were strange and beautiful. He did not know what would happen next, but he was ready. Ilisara was full of surprises, and Jake was ready to discover them all. Jake woke early the next day, even before the sun rose above the blue hills. He was used to waking up at dawn when he was a soldier. His body remembered the habit even on this new world. He looked outside and saw the village was quiet. There was a gentle mist over the grass, and the air was cool and fresh. Jake decided to walk a little to stretch his leg, which felt stronger now. He walked slowly along the stone paths. Birds with long tails and soft voices sang in the trees. Jake smiled, thinking how different this place was from Earth. He wondered how his friends back home would react to the sights and sounds of Ilisara. As he reached the village center, he saw Lara sitting near the fountain, waiting for him. She waved and smiled. Jake sat beside her, and they talked for a while. Lyra seemed thoughtful. She explained that today the village would hold a test of strength and skill, something they did only once a year. It was a special event, and everyone was excited to watch. Lyra asked Jake if he wanted to join. He was surprised, but said yes. He wanted to show he could be useful and brave, even if he was not from this world. Lyra clapped her hands in delight, and promised to help him prepare. Soon the village was busy with noise and movement. Tables were set up around the main square. The women and girls hung colorful cloths from tree to tree, and many villagers came out with bright clothes and ribbons. Mia and Harper found Jake and told him more about the test. There would be different challenges: running, climbing, and solving puzzles. Jake listened carefully, hoping he could do well. Before the test began, Eldra, the village leader, stood before everyone and spoke. She welcomed all, her voice calm and clear. She explained that the test was about working together and using both mind and body. Jake listened and felt a little nervous, but Lyra squeezed his hand and smiled. The first challenge was a race through the gardens and over the hills. Jake lined up with Lyra, Mia, Harper, and many others. A young girl started the race with a song and everyone ran forward. Jake's leg hurt at first, but he kept going. The blue grass was soft under his feet and he found his strength. He was not the fastest, but he finished with a smile. Lyra finished close behind him, laughing and out of breath. The next challenge was to climb a tall tree and bring down a flag tied to the highest branch. Jake watched as Mia went first, moving quickly and carefully. When it was his turn, he started Up the tree, the bark was smooth, but his hands were strong. He remembered climbing trees as a child and soon reached the top. He grabbed the flag and waved it, making everyone below cheer. After that came a puzzle challenge. Villagers sat in groups around large boards covered with colored stones. The goal was to make patterns using the stones, but there was a trick to the rules. Harper explained the rules to Jake, and together with Lyra and Mia, they worked as a team. Jake watched and learned, placing stones as the girls guided him. When they finished, their pattern made the image of a star. Everyone clapped and smiled. The last challenge was a test of courage. A group of villagers set up a small hut in the center of the square. Inside the hut, it was dark and filled with strange sounds, hidden bells, soft drums, and moving shadows made by cloth and light. The test was simple. Walk through the hut without stopping, even if you were scared. Jake was nervous. He did not like dark, closed spaces. But he remembered his training as a soldier and took a deep breath. When it was his turn, Jake entered the hut. The darkness was thick, and the strange sounds made his heart beat fast. For a moment, he thought of his old battles, of times when he was afraid. But then he remembered Lyra, Mia, and Harper waiting for him outside. He remembered their kindness and their laughter. He walked slowly and did not stop, even when something brushed against his shoulder. Soon he saw the light at the end of the hut and stepped out into the sun. The villagers cheered loudly, and Lyra hugged him. After all the challenges, everyone gathered around for food and music. Eldra spoke again and praised all the villagers for their effort. She said the test was not just about being strong or smart, but about helping each other and trying your best. Jake felt proud. He was tired, but happy. He had done things he never thought he could do in a place that once felt so strange. Later, as the sun set, Lyra and her friends sat with Jake near the fountain. Lyra told him how surprised the village was to see a man take part in the test. She explained that on Elisara, men did not do such things. They were gentle and quiet, not brave or bold. Mia nodded and said Jake was different from any man she had ever met. Harper giggled and said some of the younger girls wanted to be like Jake, brave and strong. Jake listened and felt a little shy. He tried to explain that he was not special, just someone who did his best for his friends. Lyra shook her head and smiled. "You show us something new, Jake," she said softly. "You make us believe anything is possible." That night, Jake lay awake thinking about the day. He was proud of what he had done, but he also thought about his home and the people he missed. Still, he was grateful for his new friends. They had helped him feel strong and welcome in a world that was not his own. As he drifted to sleep, Jake knew that he would do whatever it took to help and protect them. Just as they had helped him, he dreamed of bright flags, gentle hands, and the sound of laughter in the blue light of Elisara. The next day, Jake woke to the sound of soft rain falling on the roof of his small house. The sky was gray, but the village was still full of life. The rain did not stop anyone from working or playing. Jake watched from his window as the villagers carried baskets, fixed fences, and talked together under the trees. The blue grass looked even brighter in the rain. Jake felt calm, but he also felt something new, a little worry. Yesterday had been special. He had made new friends and had shown the villagers he could be strong and brave. But now he wondered if he really belonged here. Elisara was not his home, and every day he saw things that were strange to him. Still, he wanted to learn and help, as much as he could. After breakfast, Lyra came to see Jake. She brought a warm drink and a piece of sweet bread. She smiled and sat with him while they listened to the rain. Lyra told Jake that the village council wanted to meet him. Some of the older women had questions about him and his world. They wanted to know if he could be trusted and if he should stay in the village for longer. Jake felt nervous, but Lyra promised to stay by his side. They walked together to the big meeting house in the center of the village. The house was filled with women from the council, sitting in a circle. Eldra, the leader, welcomed Jake and Lyra. She asked Jake to sit in the middle so everyone could see and hear him. The other villagers sat around the walls, curious to hear what would happen. Eldra spoke first. She thanked Jake for helping the village during the test of strength and for being kind to everyone. Then she asked him about his past, about his life as a soldier, and about the world he came from. Jake answered all the questions honestly. He explained that he was not a hero, just someone who wanted to protect people and find a place to belong. Some council members looked worried. They asked why men on Earth would fight, why they would train to be strong, and if that made them dangerous. Jake shook his head. Not all men fight, he said. On my world, some men are gentle and some are strong. It is the same with women. We can all choose what to be. The council listened closely, and some whispered to each other. Lyra stood up to speak for Jake. She told the council how he had helped her and her friends, how he had worked hard, and how he showed respect to everyone. She said Jake had taught her new things and helped her see that being strong did not mean being cruel. Mia and Harper joined Lyra, telling their own stories about Jake's kindness and bravery. The council talked for a long time. Some wanted Jake to stay, while others were unsure. Eldra said she would think about it and give Jake an answer soon. She told Jake to keep living in the village for now and to continue learning about Ilisara and its people. After the meeting, Jake felt tired but hopeful. Lyra and her friends comforted him, telling him that many villagers liked him and wanted him to stay. Jake thanked them and promised to do his best. That afternoon, Jake tried to help in the gardens, but his thoughts kept returning to the council. He worried he would have to leave the village and say goodbye to his friends. While he worked, young children came to watch him. They asked him to show them some Earth games, so Jake taught them how to make paper planes and played tag with them in the rain. Their laughter helped him forget his worry for a while. As evening came, the rain stopped and the sky turned a soft pink. Lyra found Jake by the stream, skipping stones. She sat next to him and watched the water move. Lyra said that some people in the village were afraid of change. Ilisara had always done things in the same way, and Jake's presence made people think about new ideas. Lyra told Jake not to give up and that change could be good even if it felt scary at first. Jake listened and nodded. He thought about how he felt when he first arrived. Everything was new and strange, but now he felt safe and welcome thanks to Lyra, Mia, Harper, and the others. He wanted to help the village see that differences could bring good things, not just problems. That night, Jake joined the villagers for a simple meal. The council members sat together at one table, talking quietly. Jake noticed that some of them smiled at him now. The younger villagers, including Mia and Harper, sat near Jake and asked him about life on Earth. He told them about his favorite places, his family, and his dreams. After dinner, Eldra stood and spoke to the whole village. She said that Jake was different, but he was also honest and kind. She asked the villagers to welcome him as a guest and to help him learn their ways. The crowd clapped and Lyra squeezed Jake's hand. Jake felt relief and happiness fill his heart. Later, Jake walked with Lyra through the village under the stars. The air was cool and the grass was soft under their feet. Lyra asked Jake what he would do if he could stay on Ilisara. Jake thought for a moment, then said, "I would help where I can. I would learn your ways and share what I know. I want to be part of this place." Lyra smiled, her eyes shining in the moonlight. Jake went to bed that night feeling hopeful. He knew things would not always be easy. Change was hard for everyone, but he was ready to face it with his friends. As he closed his eyes, he listened to the soft sounds of the village and felt like he was finally finding a new home. The wind was strong in the night and rain fell again, harder than before. Thunder rolled across the hills and bright flashes of lightning lit up the sky. Jake woke suddenly to the sound of shouting. He ran to the door and looked out. All across the village, people were running with torches, trying to tie down roofs and close shutters. The storm was much worse than any Jake had seen since he came to Ilisara. Lyra knocked on Jake's door. She was out of breath and her hair was wet from the rain. She told him that the river near the village was rising and some of the homes closest to the water were in danger. Eldra had sent word for everyone to help move the children and elders to higher ground. Jake's training as a soldier returned quickly. He grabbed his boots and ran with Lyra to the center of the village. Mia and Harper were there, helping others gather blankets, food, and water. Jake saw that some of the villagers were afraid. The storm was strong, and the water was already starting to flow into the lowest homes. Jake spoke loudly so everyone could hear. "We must work together," he said. "Let's move people to the hall on the hill. Bring only what you need. Stay calm and help each other." The villagers listened. Jake pointed out who should help the children and who should carry supplies. Lyra, Mia, and Harper moved through, the crowd repeating Jake's instructions. The wind picked up, making it hard to walk straight. Branches fell from trees and the river water moved fast and dark. Eldra came to Jake, her face full of worry. She asked Jake for his advice. Jake thought quickly. He told Eldra that everyone should avoid the bridges by the river and use the higher paths through the gardens instead. Eldra nodded and told the council to follow Jake's plan. Jake led a group of villagers through the storm, guiding them along the safest path. Lyra stayed at his side, holding a lantern that glowed bright and blue. Children clung to her robe as they walked. Mia and Harper went to the houses nearest the river to check for anyone left behind. As Jake helped carry an old woman up the hill, he saw the water cover the path behind them. He shouted for everyone to hurry. They reached the big meeting house on the hill just as a huge wave of water rushed through the village below. Jake heard people crying, but he spoke gently and tried to calm them. "We are safe here," he said. "We will help each other. The storm will pass." Inside the meeting house, everyone sat close together. Jake and the others passed out food and blankets. Eldra asked Jake to check that all the windows and doors were closed. He moved through the building, making sure the place was safe. Each time he saw a frightened face, he smiled and offered kind words. Outside, the wind and rain beat against the walls, but the meeting house held strong. Eldra and the council took care of the children and elders. Lyra and Harper brought warm drinks to everyone. Jake stayed awake, walking from room to room always, checking on people and making sure no one was missing. When morning came, the storm was finally over. The sky was bright again, but the village below was full of mud and broken branches. Some homes were badly damaged, and the river had changed its path. The villagers were quiet as they looked at their homes, but soon Eldra called everyone together. She thanked Jake and the others for saving lives and for acting with courage and care. Jake helped organize teams to clean up the village. He showed the villagers how to build small walls to keep water out in the future. He helped fix broken roofs and move heavy logs from the paths. Lyra worked beside him, laughing when the mud splashed her feet. Mia and Harper led groups of children who gathered lost tools and found animals that had run away in the night. As the days passed, the village slowly came back to life. Flowers bloomed again in the gardens, and the air was full of hope. People began to talk about how Jake had helped them stay calm and safe. Some of the older women who once worried about Jake now smiled at him and thanked him for his help. One evening, the whole village gathered for a meal in the meeting house. Eldra stood and spoke to everyone. She said Jake had shown great courage and wisdom. She told the villagers that Jake was not just a visitor, but a true friend and helper. She asked the council to make Jake an honorary member of the village. The crowd cheered, and Lyra hugged Jake tightly. Jake stood up and thanked everyone. He said he was proud to be part of the village. He told them that they had shown him kindness and given him a new home. "We are strong because we work together," Jake said. "No storm can defeat us when we care for each other." After the feast, Lyra, Mia, and Harper sat with Jake under the stars. They talked about the storm and how much things had changed. Lyra asked Jake if he missed Earth. Jake said he did miss his old home, but he felt happy to belong in Olasara now. Mia smiled and said, "You are one of us, Jake." Harper agreed, saying, "You helped us see that anyone can be brave no matter where they come from." As the night grew quiet, Jake looked around at his friends and the village lights glowing in the dark. He felt proud and at peace. He knew he had made a difference. Jake was ready for whatever would come next, knowing he was no longer alone. Days passed quickly after the storm. The sky was clear and the sun was bright almost every day. The village of Olasara was busy with work, but also with laughter. People worked together to rebuild the homes that the water had broken. Jake was always busy, helping with heavy lifting, showing how to make strong roofs, and giving advice on keeping the river away from the houses. Jake woke up early every morning. He started his day by walking through the village with Lara, checking if anyone needed help. The children waved to him and ran to tell their mothers that Jake was coming. Many villagers now smiled when they saw Jake. They were no longer afraid. Instead, they saw him as a friend and a helper. Lyra often asked Jake to tell stories about Earth. She wanted to hear about his family, his old life, and how people built cities and traveled between the stars. Jake's stories made the girls dream about other worlds and about things they could do in their own lives. Harper and Mia started drawing pictures of starships and cities in the clouds. One afternoon, Eldra called a meeting in the center of the village. She stood on a large stone and called for quiet. Eldra told everyone that they had to work together, not just to fix what was broken, but to plan for the future. She asked Jake to speak to the villagers. Jake was surprised, but he agreed. Jake stood in front of everyone. He spoke slowly, choosing simple words so everyone could understand. He said that the storm had been hard for everyone, but they had survived because they worked together. He told the villagers they were strong, not because they never felt fear, but because they helped each other in hard times. Jake said that, on Earth, people sometimes forgot to help each other, but here in Elisara, the people were different. He thanked them for welcoming him and teaching him new things. After Jake finished, the villagers clapped. Eldra smiled at Jake and said he was wise. She announced that the village would start new projects, stronger bridges, safer homes, and even a garden on the highest hill for everyone to share. Jake promised to help with every project, and Lyra said she wanted to learn more about building. That evening, Lyra, Mia, and Harper invited Jake to their favorite place, a quiet spot by a small lake outside the village. The water was still, and the trees made soft shadows on the ground. They sat together, talking about the future. Lyra told Jake she wanted to be a leader one day, to help her people grow and change. Mia wanted to become a teacher, and Harper dreamed of being an explorer. Jake listened and felt happy. He saw that the girls were not afraid of new ideas anymore. They talked about how they could teach the younger children to be brave and to help each other, no matter where they came from. Jake promised to help them, to share everything he knew. Soon the village looked new again. The homes were strong, the gardens grew bright flowers, and the river was kept far from the houses by small stone walls. The children played by the water and watched fish swim in the clear streams. Jake showed the villagers how to build new tools, and taught the girls how to tie strong knots and use simple maps. One day, a group of travelers arrived from another village. They were surprised to see a man working and giving advice. In their village, men were never leaders or builders. The travelers asked many questions, and Lyra explained how Jake had helped them during the storm. She told them what she learned from Jake and how her village had changed because of him. Some of the travelers were unsure. They worried that change would bring problems. But Lyra said that new ideas could bring hope and make everyone stronger. Jake spoke too, telling the travelers that kindness and teamwork mattered more than old rules. After the travelers left, more villages heard about what had happened in Elisara. Some people came to see Jake and to ask for his help. Jake was always ready to share what he knew, but he made sure everyone knew the changes belonged to them. He never forced anyone to do things his way. Lara's mother, who once worried about Jake, now thanked him for saving her home during the storm. She told Lyra that sometimes new friends brought good changes, even if they were different. The Council of Elders met again and decided that Jake would always be welcome in Elisara. One night, the village held a big celebration. The sky was full of stars, and the air smelled of flowers and fresh bread. Eldra gave Jake a gift, a piece of blue crystal on a leather string, a sign of trust and friendship in their village. Jake put the necklace on and smiled. Everyone danced and sang together. Mia and Harper played music on strange but beautiful instruments. Children ran in circles, and even the oldest women laughed and joined the fun. Lyra danced with Jake and told him she was happy he had come to their world. As the celebration ended, Jake stood by the fire, looking at the stars. He felt a deep peace inside. He remembered his old home and his life as a soldier, but now he knew he had a new family here. Elisara had changed him, and he had helped change Elisara. He looked at Lara, Mia, and Harper and felt hope for the future. Jake knew he would never forget this world. He would always do his best to help his friends, and to learn from them, just as they learned from him. And under the bright, strange sky of Elisara, Jake finally knew he belonged.